Hello, I'm Ravi Handa and welcome to another video on do active mutual funds beat their benchmarks? I have been investing for a few years and I invested in fund X because someone told me to, then fund Y because someone else told me to. I read somewhere that, okay, this fund is doing well, so I invested in fund Z. But over a period of time, I realized that my investing journey would have been a lot simpler if I just stuck to simple index funds. But whenever I make that argument that people should invest in index funds, a pushback that I often get from the viewers such as yourself is, why should I leave money on the table? If an active fund will give me more returns, I will invest there. And that's a fair argument. However, how are you going to select that active fund? That is a big problem. Maybe you go to a mutual fund distributor who recommends that, but then you have to pay his fee. And whatever advantage that you might be getting in that active fund gets negated because of the fee of either the mutual fund distributor or the fund manager. Index funds cost very, very little, 20 paise, 30 paise, 20 basis points, 30 basis points. That's all that some of them charge. So, do active mutual funds really meet their benchmarks? And should we even bother with it? Well, at least I am bothering with it. I'm looking at a series making a series of videos where I compare a set of funds. I've done 2 videos on it already. I would recommend that you watch them as well in the description section. In the first video, I talked about comparing large cap award winners and how they have performed. In the next one, I looked at the small and mid cap award winning funds and how they performed. Today, I'm going to look at a slightly different criteria. I'm going to look at the equity funds, which got the highest inflow in the year 2016-2017. The entire list of those funds is available to you on your screen. I will be comparing the direct plan and the regular plans. Now, it would be very difficult for me to compare all 15 of them. And that is the reason why I selected 5 of them. How I have selected the 5 of them? I selected one large cap, the biggest one from the top. Then I selected one flexicap, whatever was the biggest one from the top. Value fund, mid cap fund, small cap fund. So that I cover a wide variety for this sort of a comparison. Obviously, this is not a very comprehensive comparison and this is looking at just one of the parameters. But I believe that when I am going out to select a fund, I will look at some of these things. I will look at whether they have won awards or not. I will look at whether they are popular or not. And that's why I picked these 5. How am I comparing them? I'm comparing them on the basis of 5-year, 7-year, and 10-year periods. How they have done. These are the trailing returns. 10-year is what I will give the most weightage to because I'm talking about the long-term perspective. The other parameter that I'm going to compare them on is on a rolling returns period starting from 1st April 2016 because that is when the inflows started. So let's look at the funds. Let's start with the SBI Large Cap Fund. Coincidentally, I am an investor in this particular fund and I did invest in this, I think around the same time, 2016 to 2018 period. It was, as you can see here, called the SBI Blue Chip Fund at that point of time. And well, I haven't beaten the benchmark because the fund hasn't beaten the benchmark. It has lagged the benchmark by a little more than, it's around 1.3%, which is significant when you consider the fact that it is a 10-year period. In the rolling return part as well, if you look at the post-2020 era, green or the benchmark is winning by a big margin or by a small margin, but very clearly the benchmark is winning here. So this choice of mine, it didn't turn out to be that great. But I did invest in the direct plan. So that much, right decision making I did. I didn't go via a mutual fund distributor to select this. I went for the direct plan. Are things better? Well, things are still better for the benchmark here. As you can see, the gap has reduced. The gap, which was around a percentage point, 1.3 point, it has now reduced to around 0.3, 0.4 points because at 1% is the mutual fund distributor fee, commission, extra charges that you pay in regular, that goes there. When I look at the rolling returns part, I don't think that I can give anyone the clear winner here. The fund was winning. Then for some period, the index was winning. But broadly speaking, they're stuck very, very close to each other. Let's look at the Kotak Flexicap Fund. Once again, the benchmark is the winner here by around 50 basis points. So the gap is not that huge. In the 7-year part, the gap is close to 1.5%. And again, not a huge gap when we are looking at the 5-year part. In the rolling returns part, I would once again, I'm afraid I have to give it to the benchmark because post 2020, as you can see, the green is always either it is above by a lot or it is above by a small margin, but it is broadly above it in terms of performance. What happens when we make it when we change it to a direct plan? That means we remove the fee for regular or commissions. Well, then you are able to defeat the benchmark. So at least there is some respite. So, if you pick the right mutual fund without the distributor, you would have won. But how will you pick the right mutual fund without the distributor? And if you pick the right mutual fund even with the distributor, then you lose out. So you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And that's why I keep pushing people to buy the simple choice of index funds. Yes, I'm very clearly biased in this. I'm not trying to hide that bias in any way. It's just that I'm putting out more data to sort of make you a believer in it, and also to convince myself to a certain extent that my choice of index funds is the right call. Because over the last few years, primarily bulk of my money has gone into index funds. Prior to that, it was active funds here and there. As I said, I was an investor in the SBI Blue Chip Fund. In the rolling returns part as well, it has been able to defeat the benchmark very clearly ahead here. There are some portions where it is behind, but broadly speaking, blue has remained ahead in the direct part for a long period of time. ICICI Prudential Value Fund. This is another fund that I think I'm getting too many common names here because I have been invested in the value fund as well. Well, here my luck has worked out because I have been able to defeat the benchmark. Please note, I'm using the word luck, not skill. It wasn't skill. It was maybe I read somewhere that this is a good fund that I put money into it. I'm wiser now. I don't make that impulsive decisions, and that's why I go with index funds now. But yeah, this call, lucky decision, skill-based decision, it worked out. The benchmark won here. And this is once again the benchmark, the benchmark lost here. The ICICI Value Discovery Fund won. Here also you can see broadly the benchmark is defeated. And if the regular plan is able to defeat the benchmark, then obviously the direct plan will be able to defeat it by even a wider or a higher margin of around 1.5 percentage points here. And very clearly here, once again, the benchmark has been defeated. HDFC Mid Cap Fund. This is again a fund that I put in a little bit of money in. I was very scared about investing in mid caps at that point of time. And again, no clear winner. There is a gap, a small 0.1% gap on a 10-year period. I'm recording this video in early June 2026, so this might keep changing. But I would put this in a no clear winner category. And even on the rolling returns part, sometimes the fund is winning, sometimes the benchmark is winning. I'll put this in a no clear winner category. When I look at the direct plan, things should improve, and they have. Once again, this fund has been able to defeat the benchmark by close to 1 percentage point. In the rolling returns, I would still say that there is no clear winner here. DSP Small Cap Fund, how did this do? So this has been able to once again defeat the benchmark, but again by 0.75 points. I don't know if you have seen the earlier videos or not, and I will link them in the description. What you see is that when a fund is defeating the benchmark, the gap is by 0.75 or 1%. But there are cases when the benchmark defeats the fund, the gap is significantly larger. Again, this has been able to defeat the benchmark comprehensively. And once again, if it is able to do that in the regular category, obviously it is going to do that in the direct category as well. The gap just becomes bigger from, I believe, so this is 1.5, or it's closer to 1.6, 1.7% sort of a gap here. And in the rolling returns also, once again, the benchmark is defeated. So with all of this, we looked at a bunch of funds. I believe a lot of funds in this video compared to the other videos. So the funds in this video have done well. couple of reasons that I can see for that happening is because we are looking at the data from 2016 where a lot of money went into this. And instead of awards, maybe people's choice is a better way to look at it. The other reason why I believe this might be happening is because these funds have continued to exist in their format. In the award-winning funds, at least the ones that I looked at, they were 15 years ago, and a lot of funds have changed their true character since then. But these have stayed more or less the same, more or less true to their character. And even here in the regular plan, if you see, there are 4 benchmark winners, there are 4 fund winners, and then it's a tie. So it's a very clear tie in the regular one. In the direct plan, fund seems to win out here, but would you be able to select these funds at the right point of time? And how much is the gap that is coming in? So to conclude, once again, can active funds beat the benchmark? Well, yes, very clearly some of them can. But how are you going to choose then? If you are going to rely on a mutual fund distributor or some sort of an expert to tell you that, often it is not going to work out because of the fee that you are going to pay. Even if you select them yourself and you get lucky, or it is your skill which gets you that money, the gap is not going to be significant enough. What happens 10 years down the line? What happens 20 years down the line? Will you shift from fund A to fund B? Are you willing to pay the capital gains taxes that will come along with it? Well, those are some questions that I hope you struggle with, think about, and eventually join the blind followers of index funds. I hope you do that. Thank you.